So here we are at the Brandywine River Museum in Chaddsford, Pennsylvania, and we're going to be taking a special tour of the NC Wyeth Studio, which is a artist studio tour that the museum has been doing for a number of years now. I just found out about it recently, and I've got to say, looking forward to it. We boarded a bus at the Brandywine River Museum and took the short drive over to the house and studio where NC Wyeth lived with his family and created his artwork. The house is a simple brick structure with a porch set back off the road in a secluded area on a rise, with pastures and forests surrounding it. Here are photos of the home, which is interesting to me because it's decorated in classic southern Pennsylvania antique style, much like what I grew up with. A very simple kitchen, a more formal living room, and a rustic dining room. You can tell by the fireplaces that these were the main source of heat when NC was living here. NC stands for Newell Converse, something that I learned as I was putting this video together. The more interesting part of the tour is yet to come, the NC Wyeth Studio that he built behind the house. We took a bus up to that as well. And it was quite interesting that the deer felt so at home in the fields surrounding both the studio and the house.
So this is a self-portrait of NC. He was not a smoker. He loved props. He loved things. He loved costumes. He liked changing his personality with objects and clothing. The background with his personal paintings, he loved to experiment with the new styles and what was going on in the art world. The two people on either side of him are his parents, Henriette and Andrew. They are finished paintings. It was nice though because his parents actually lived to see him build this house and be a very successful illustrator. They died, I believe it's the late 30s or early 40s, because his father was not supportive of his son being an artist, and his mother was very supportive, so the parents were always in discussion on if their child should do something else, which I'm sure we all, if your child was an artist, you would kind of be scared. So anyway, they saw their child be very successful. The books, he had between 600 and 900 books. All the books in the living room, the big room, both the bedrooms and the hallway, and including all the National Geographics. And the years of the National Geographics are painted on the cabinet, which is kind of cool. So you can see a National Geographic from like 1917, 1918. Yeah. This is his actual smock apron. He was already an artist, so he wiped his dirty brush on his stuff. This is Palatine design windows, north facing. North facing is very important. He never painted anything from artificial light. The candles and the candlestick holders, you had to eat by candlelight. You could not eat by artificial light. Same thing in here. So he had a curtain system, and so if you wanted to direct the light to come in a certain way, he shut the curtains and opened the curtains, and sometimes they were like multiple curtains all over the place. So that's how he had his light. This is personally one of my favorite things in this whole room. This is his actual palette from 1945, the actual paint from 1945. So what happened, the car accident, like you were asking? In 1945, so NC went for a ride with his grandson, NC. If you go Route 1 north, and then go right on Ring Road, you're going to pass the Kerner Farm on your left. Right before you pass the Kerner Farm, there's like a little bump in the road. You feel it, like your tires go boom, boom. That was where the train tracks were. And for some reason, nobody knows why, the car stalled. Both people were in the car, and the train came. Wow. The Kerner children actually witnessed it. There was an article about how the Kerner children came running you know, because they saw it all happen, but yeah, both of them passed away. The family knew that they didn't just lose a family member, they also lost a pretty important person in art history, and so they started taking photographs, and they started sketching, and they started documenting here what was his and what was here, and what he used. And so Carol and his daughter actually wrote, this is her handwriting, you know, do not use, and the date. So it was the 18th, so he died on the 17th, because she did it the day later. So that's why this. That's another way that the museum learned what was here and what he used, because the family started documenting it like crazy. So NC in 45, when he passed away, he was never a painter. He was an illustrator. Does anybody know the difference between a painter and an illustrator in the early 1900s? Okay, so a painter in the early 1900s was this amazing human being that had this image in their head, and they could make this image go through their arms and out their hands and create this amazing piece of work. And they had the intelligence to do that. They had the creativity to do that. An illustrator, all they did was create a picture for somebody else's words, somebody else's object, somebody else's thing, somebody else's bank, somebody else's whatever. So they did not creatively think of this. Somebody else gave them the domino reaction, the words. So it was a trade. It was more like, if you look in somebody's kitchen and the plumbing's underneath the cabinets, it's very important, but it's not as gorgeous as your granite countertops. So NC was like the plumber, because it was important, but he wasn't the painter, which was granite countertop. Yeah, okay? So in 1945, when he died, not one museum had one of his illustrations, or what he called his personal paintings, up, because he was not worthy. He was not good enough to be in a museum. So it's kind of sad. So a lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of illustrators at that time were changing over. They were becoming painters. Hopper was one of them, and he knew this was going on. So he said, you know what, I want to be a painter, because he was making a ton of money. In the early 1930s, they had housekeepers, they had sent out their laundry, they had people cleaning their home, cooking for them. They had tons of money. They were fine, but he was not a painter, and he didn't get respect from the art world. So what he had to do was submit his personal paintings to galleries and have the media say, yes, you're a painter. So he said, okay, I got this. So he submitted this piece, Island Funeral. He submitted it to the same gallery that his son Andrew, 2 years ago, just had that sold-out show when Andrew was 20, I just talked about. So he knew the gallery owners, he knew the gallery. He thought the media, since his son just did it, would, he thought this was the bandwagon he was going to jump on, and this was his time, and all right, we got this, right? So two really important things about this painting is, one is bird's eye view. Now I know today we all know what bird's eye view is, but that was a new concept. So we're talking probably late 30s, because Andrew was 22. So like late 30s. So bird's eye view is a new idea.
So no drones back then? No
drones back then. This is all made from NC's imagination. So I'm a painter, I have an imagination. Like he didn't have an imagination, but And on top of that, the colors, the blues and the greens, the water, they were brand new colors. And NC was one of the first illustrators, painters, artists to have this color. So he thought the combination of the color with the bird's eye view, no problem. That would be it. So he submitted to the gallery, the family showed up, the media showed up, there was a big celebration. Nope. What the media said is, you know what? Look at your kids. You have 5 kids. The 2 girls are already successful. Your young boy, your youngest, just had a sold-out show. We don't need you anymore. Your kids' time. Give it to your children. You're a husband. So he never, so that was really disappointing, especially with the whole family. It didn't work. So, but on the good part of that, the museum actually has the original, because nobody else wanted it. So we have it, because the family gave it to us. So this is now his personal paintings that he did, he called them his easel paintings, that was his term, and that was just what, something he wanted to paint. So this is an easel painting. Can anybody tell me how long it took him to paint that? There's the answer's right there for you somewhere.
33 hours.
3 hours, that's the right answer. It took him 3 hours. Somebody always sees it. So my point is he painted fast. He painted really, really really fast. That's personally one of my favorites. It's called Dusty Bottle, and I have no idea how he paints dirt. I think it's so cool to paint dirt. Like, I mean, the dust on the bottle. It's like, how did you paint dust and it looks like dust? So, anyway, the museum owns that original as well. Nobody else wanted it, but I think it's awesome. So if you want to follow me, we're going to the mural.
Can you talk about why the crucifix is up there? Was he Catholic or was he
No,
a religious?
Not any denomination, any practice.
Yeah, I never thought he was.
That was
But
a prop.
okay.
He fit in his paintings. Yeah, a lot of these things just floating around with props.
Okay.
The cast, the fan, So this is the mural studio. Now, we just walked down the steps, but when we were outside, you noticed the roof lines were lined up. The reason that was, is he wanted the roof lines lined up, but he wanted to make these walls taller, because his tallest mural ever was 15 feet tall, and his longest mural ever was 30 feet long. This is actually an original, real NC painting, a mural. Everything else I've shown you was a reproduction, but this is actually the real one, which is kind of cool. His hands actually, we're not allowed to touch it, but his hands actually touched it, which is kind of neat. So this was commissioned by Penn Life Insurance in Philadelphia, and when they closed, they donated it back to the museum. This was painted in 1933, and so the idea is the King of England's on the right, and he owed a debt to William Penn's father. William Penn's father passed away before the debt was repaid. So to repay the debt, the king gave William Penn Pennsylvania. So it's William Penn in the center, going with the Quakers at the bottom, on the ship called Welcome on the bottom left, and they're going to go up to the promised land of Pennsylvania on the top left. Because someone all wants to join together and go to Penn Life Insurance. So that was the idea of the mural. So this is another mural of his. This photograph. This is actually him sitting on these steps. These steps are on wheels. The original part is at the top. These are reproductions at the bottom, but he wheeled them around to work on all his murals, so there he is. So this one is the longest one. It's 30 feet long. It's at the WSFS, WSFS Bank in Wilmington. They own it. They closed. So it's a shame, so they still have it in storage, and I haven't heard if they're giving it back or not. So I'm hoping they take care of it. But what's really cool about this is that is a human at the teller. Do you see how tall this is? Oh, yeah. That is a teller at the little bank. It's huge. It's 30 feet wide. And you see in that one, this is the same one, it's done in sections. And so he did sections around this room, because that is this room. And then what he did is he went, when they installed it, he went with them to install it, to touch up, to make sure, they blended, the pieces blended together well.
Is this just a prop here?
That is a prop, that is a Conestoga wagon. He bought it when he was in Colorado, and it was handmade for him for a prop, because he wanted a wagon in a lot of his work, but the wagon obviously was too big, so he asked if I could go to that size. But yeah, that's a Conestoga. So that's a canoe, and that's another prop that he used, but it's actually a working canoe. He bought it when he was in Maine. Now, he had a home in Maine, and he had a home here in Chatsford, and in the spring and summer, he brought the whole family members to Maine. And he spent the time there, and then he lived here in the fall. Winter. I don't know how they did that with schooling, but anyway, it worked out. So that is an actual canoe that they used. It's the Penobscot Native American tribe. And it's a little over 18 feet long, and he had it shipped here on a train. So that was kind of neat. So a lot of people ask about this little door. So Carolyn, when this was Carolyn's studio, she loved dogs, but she didn't want the dogs to come in, she's working. Now that level is where the grass is outside, because we walk down the steps. So she had a really large table up against the wall here, with a cage on the table. So she opened the door, so the dogs could come in and greet her and be in the cage and be like, "Hi, Mom," and then walk out the door and go run around the cages. So that was like their visiting area, because she didn't want them walking on her stuff. He wrote a little note in pencil. It's really tiny, in January of 1940. So you're welcome to come over and check it out if you're an Andrew fan. He just writes on walls, I'm not sure why.
The frames that...
The frames NC had, because if he had a commission and he was like he wanted to get your thought on how it was going, he would pop it in a frame. Like presentation frames, they want the final frame, but they didn't pop it in the frame to see what your thoughts were on piece, and then he just left frames around to do that.
Okay.
dollars.
He didn't make the frame.
No, Frank Cole, which was a frame company in Philadelphia, he worked with them. And they actually made that frame as well. He was friends with National Geographic's vice president, and it was a commission that they had to do a pirate-themed painting. So he asked Mr. Cole to make the frame and to go with the painting. And this was in the 40s, and years later in the 70s when the museum was open and they were all established, the curator of the museum found the painting, the pirate painting, but from the document she knew it was the right painting, but the frame wasn't the right frame, and she's confused, and so they're still doing research to this day on why that frame was on that painting and not the other frame, and if it might have been the same frame, maybe somebody like fixed it and not, I'm not, so it's still a mystery in the museum about that frame. So there's one more room I want to show you. So this is the prop room. So when NC got a book to illustrate, in his first 17 years of working, he illustrated over 275 books. So what he did is he read the book at least 2 times, maybe 3, and to decide where he was going to illustrate. He never illustrated like every 10 pages, every 20 pages. He never did a pattern. He illustrated where he thought it would work in the book. So he went into his prop room. A lot of this stuff was bought out west, and decided what he was going to use. So this is just the lantern on the right up hanging up on the ceiling. If you ever saw his Treasure Island, that was in Treasure Island, there's a battle scene when 2 men are fighting it out, and there's a lantern up at the top corner, and that was that lantern. And after he died, nobody wanted his work. Like I said, no museums, so the family stored his stuff in here because they didn't know what else to do with it. And Jamie, his grandson, used to come in here and just stare at his grandfather's work, which I think would be wonderful. All afternoon, just oh my God. Anyway, so but his work, if you know Jamie's work, is very similar. Jamie came in here when it was when it was a prop room when NC was here. When NC passed away, the family kept NC's paintings in here. They took the props out, and that's what the Jamie used to look at was the paintings.
Okay, because there was a thing at the museum that said that one of them used to come and get props out and then go and play like Robin Hood and all in the back in the yard with his friend.
I know Andrew did that. Maybe it was Andrew they were referring to.
Okay.
I know Andrew did that. I don't know if Jamie did that.
I didn't know which one. So
yeah, Andrew did that. And there's some ice skates hanging on the wall, which is kind of cool, really old ice skates. So yeah, that's the end of the tour. So if you want, when we walk back to the bus, you can take a peek in Carolyn's window.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, there's the phone again.
Yeah, you're welcome to look in there.
And then it's competition, and then they go to and then the one that gets it gets theirs put in the
Oh my God, no.
over there.
Yeah, so Andrew painted in there.
So I want to thank you for watching this episode of Queer for Travel as we took a look at the Brandywine River Museum's NC Wyeth Studio tour. Pretty interesting, a lot of American history here, a lot of American art history here, and a lot of Chester County, Pennsylvania history here. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and follow us for more. If you're in the southeastern Pennsylvania area, come on over to the Brandywine River Museum. I think you'll enjoy it. Until next time.